Yo, welcome to another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. And today we got a very interesting show for you guys. But when you come across the video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you got your post notifications on so you know every time Simply Ball Dropping drops another hot banger. And if you're new to the channel and you're just coming across this video for the first time, please hit that subscribe button and smash the like button. On this channel, we cover sports, hot topics, roundtable talk, and a marriage chronicles. I see everybody in the comments section. Hashtag salute. And you know what my mantra is. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Might not be for you, but it might be for them. Well, today's show, man, we're going to get right off into it. You know, Brandon Marshall has been in the news lately, been in the headlines. Brandon Marshall, he used to be on the I Am Athlete podcast with Channing Crowder, Fred Taylor, and Ryan Clark. You know, they formed that podcast during the pandemic. They was producing a lot of great content. You know, football minds coming together, speaking on various topics and putting it out to the YouTube community on their podcast. They had a lot of people watching their show. They had a lot of subscribers. They was doing great things. This was all during the pandemic. Now, know these guys have split up now, and Brandon Marshall, he's on a world tour, going on these different podcasts, trying to bash them brothers on the reason why the podcast split up, reason why they split up. And he's been taking shots at certain individuals. He took a shot at, Channing Crowder. He tried to diss Fred Taylor. Actually took a personal shot at Ryan Clark, addressing him as corny and, things of that nature. And, Ryan Clark tried to stay out of the whole thing when it was going, back and forth between Channing Crowder and Fred Taylor. Ryan Clark was trying to take the high road, but, Brandon Marshall, he was on Cam Newton's podcast, and he was putting some dirty laundry out there. And, he was taking a shot at them guys on the reason why, them guys broke up. He was calling them different, things. They was, not savvy enough, business savvy and things like that. He was trying to sell it off and, things like that. But them guys wasn't going for it. Now, y'all know Brandon Marshall during the pandemic, I Am Athlete podcast. Also, he had a stint on First Things First with Nick Wright, Chris Bouchard, and Kevin Wiles. But that didn't last too long. Brandon Marshall, works with NFL Network. He was working with NFL Network doing NFL Game Day and things like that. But I don't know what Brandon Marshall is doing now these days. He's not, in the media the way he used to be. And, he's been taking shots. He's been on these podcasts talking down on the three of them guys, including Ryan Clark, Channing Crowder, and Fred Taylor. Now, Cam Newton, he likes to keep it funky. So what happened was Brandon Marshall was trying to expose these guys. And, now Channing Crowder, Fred Taylor, and Ryan Clark got the Pivot podcast, and they doing very well. They're very successful in providing content and different, guests that they have on the show. They didn't have everybody on the show. So, Fred Taylor, he didn't, hold back. Brandon Marshall said some things about a lot of people, including Shannon Sharpe. So let's take a listen to what Fred Taylor had to say on some of the things that Brandon Marshall had to say about the Pivot podcast. Take a listen.
I think Brandon Marshall might be the biggest coward on the planet, simply because he's on his clout chasing tour. You know, and I also kind of came across something that he said about Shannon Sharpe, which is crazy. You know, so why at this point in the game you're hopping around podcasts, you know, talking about everybody? It's a bad look, and obviously I've read some of the comments, and a lot of people agree that he's embarrassing himself.
Now, you heard what Fred Teller said, that he's on this clout chasing tour, jumping around from podcast to podcast, embarrassing himself. I don't know what his motive is, but, you know, Ryan Clark stayed out of it because of the fact that Brandon Clark really tried to unleash on Ryan Clark. And Ryan Clark, you know, he wasn't going for it. Ryan Clark, you know, on his Twitter page, you know, trying to address the situation. And this is what Ryan Clark said on his verified Twitter account. I've stayed away from the I am athlete conversation because there weren't mine to have. I've even let falsehood stand in order to take the high road. I felt there was enough space for both of us. Brandon, I let you lie on my name because your words don't affect me. Let's be clear, though. I've looked in your eyes every single time I've seen you. I approached you like a man. I showed you respect of our previous relationship, made me feel you deserved until you threw your rock. And before you threw your rock, here's your hand and hide your hand. Can attest. No need to address you calling me corny. The shows I host, the respect my work brings, and the love from those who support me are what I focus on still. You and I know who is on the right side of ascension right now. We are going to keep doing us, and I pray you find your way, as I told you on the phone when I called you over a year and a half ago. We both can win. Let's clear the air at the Pivot Podcast. So that's what Ryan Clark had to say. But now there's audio of him talking about the situation, and we'll get off into that. We'll let you hear what Ryan Clark had to say on the situation. Take a listen.
And I'm out of here.
I have done my best to stay out of it because I wasn't a part of the initial show. And when it starts and he gets to me, he says I'm corny, which is fine. I don't necessarily know what that means. This ain't the first time I've been called corny by people, so it doesn't bother me. What I do know is when he wanted to be the second or third person to get a contract to do TV while he played, he came to the first one. And I had that conversation with him. And when we started and we got together, you know, I told y'all very early, I was like, look, you know, we still have a working relationship. Mo Wells, who's no longer with him because of some of the same bad business practices, was there. I was gonna go train the DBs. I said, so I would like to tell him. We were still working on our business end, and out of respect for my new colleagues, my new friends, my new partners, my new teammates, I said, I'll tell him when it's time. When it got to that time, I called him, he didn't answer. I called back, left a message, news breaks, whatever, we finally speak. And when we spoke, like I was very candid with him. You haven't done anything to me. The business practices or what you have with my 3 new partners is the business practices you have with them. Right. Does our relationship need to change? You know, and he said, you know, I just need to gather my thoughts. I'm kind of taken back right now, whatever. I said, I understand that. This is a lot, no problem. And so from there, you know, he kind of tells me he's hurt and all those things. I said, I understand. I was like, look, I'm still supposed to come down and train the DBs at House of Athlete. Do I need to find you somebody else? Because I don't want to leave those young men hanging. Mm-hmm. I think it was the Super Bowl in LA. Yep. You guys are splitting to go one way. I was heading back to another spot, so I was walking away, and Alicia was close, and obviously at this point she didn't really want to be face to face with him, but that was Alicia, and I understood that Alicia and he had whatever, but I didn't. Mm-hmm. Right? And so this was one of the lies he told on me. He said I walked by him. I ain't walking by no fucking body.
I watched you, Dapper.
But so I walk up to him and I look him in his eye and I shake his hand, because to me, there's an opportunity to tell me we are no longer cool or we have a problem. Whatever it is, I'm comfortable with it, but I want to talk about it like a man because, man, we are grown adults with children. We can't walk around beefing. We can't walk around fighting. Let's walk around with an understanding of how we'll move around each other so everybody's respectful, or at least everyone's aware. Walk up to him, shake his hand, I think everything's good. So for weeks, I'm on Zoom calls teaching these DBs. I don't have time for Zoom calls to not be getting paid for them, but with an understanding we had with him and the understanding I had with Mo, I do that. Then it's time for me to go down and train him, and he sends his assistant down, doesn't come down himself, doesn't call me to tell Mo that he doesn't want me in the building, which is fine, but I gave you that opportunity before.
Wow. Ryan Clark, man, basically exposed every lie that Brandon Marshall has said on every podcast. And one thing that Ryan Clark said in there, you know, while Ryan Clark was playing, he got a contract in the media. So Brandon Marshall felt when he was playing, he could come to Ryan Clark. Like Ryan Clark said, he came to the one to help him out. But then you turn your back on him. But Ryan Clark, you know, he tried to stay out of it. He was the bigger man. Respectfully, he didn't, you know, throw no shade to him. He just exposed the lies that Brandon Marshall has told on him and the lies that he's been saying about, you know, the former I Am Athlete trio. And like Ryan Clark said, he wasn't a part of it at the beginning. So Brandon Marshall, he's on his world tour. You know, I guess like Fred Taylor said, he's clout chasing. But you guys let me know how y'all feel in the comments, man. Leave a comment. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you share it out. Keep supporting the channel. And that's going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. We'll catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
Another one.